Hello.
And to you, good day.
My name is Darryl.
Speak up, so that all may hear you.
I develop mobile and web app called Loving Universe.
Yes.
And the whole idea of the app is to share and help people be more inspired,
Yes.
heal through love, and just be more into in their highest excitement.
All right, and so, thank you.
And right now, when person randomly sends or the other side receives the love,
Yeah.
he gets a positive quote, he gets an inspiring picture, trying to put them into self-loving state of being,
Yes.
where they are more following their highest excitement.
All
so my
right.
question is, would you recommend anything that could be even more efficient in helping the humanity through this app to just...
Are you yourself a representation of the app? In other words, when you engage with people personally, do you also have the ability to inspire them in that way and reflect love to them in that way? Can you be a living app?
Yes, I think so.
All right. Then that's what we would encourage you to be.
Okay. Is there any maybe quote or word that we could...
We have to leave that up to the synchronicity in your life to bring to you.
Okay, thank you.
Do you trust the way your life unfolds?
Yes.
Then there you go. And by the way, that would be a good question for your app. Do you trust the way your life unfolds or not? Yes or no?
Oh, thank you.
Yes?
Yeah.
All right. Will that do?
Yes, thank you.
Happy to help.
Okay. I have another question.
Oh, that won't do then.
Your civilization,
Yes.
do you guys eat?
No, not anymore. We used to.
Okay.
We neither eat nor sleep
Why
at this point.
Why did you choose not to? Why did you choose not to?
It is simply part of our evolution. We are becoming more and more non-physical. Therefore, we simply absorb energy more directly than we used to. It's simply part of our natural evolution.
Okay.
One day, your people will arrive at a similar point, somewhere around 1,000 of your years from now.
Okay.
Does that help you?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello.
And to you, good day.
My name is Maribel, and I do angel card readings.
Oh, all right. That is your permission slip of choice?
Yes.
All right.
And I do find it's very helpful, very
Yes.
positive reinforcement for everybody.
Yes, for those that you attract, yes.
Yes. And so what I want to know is, how do I distinguish in my readings when it's an intuitive, I guess, download what I'm giving them as opposed to my own personal opinion?
Who cares?
So,
Who cares?
okay.
What difference does it make?
As
Unless you're making a difference in it. Why are you making a difference in it? Do you not believe that your personal opinion can match what you might download?
Yes, that makes sense.
Well then, what difference does it make?
Okay, so it's
Ironically, when you allow there to be no difference between the two, you will know the difference.
okay.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
All right. Anything else?
That was it.
Are you sure?
I got my answers, my questions answered before I came up. So.
How synchronous of you.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
And to you, good day.
My name's David. When I came today, I came with my friends. I didn't really know too much about what was going on.
Oh,
And
all right.
The lady at
When we decided to do this, we had no idea what would go on. Whatsoever.
well, that makes three of us.
Oh, all right.
And so at the front desk, I said, "Oh, I don't need to ask a question." They said, "Fill out the form anyway." And then I found out when I was outside, I was the first person called. So I guess I must have a question.
Not necessarily. You can make a statement. You don't need to have a question to communicate with us.
So I guess I'll ask a question.
Oh, all right.
So all the people that are here today, how many of them may have, in a past life, been from a different planet, or...
Nobody in the audience is from another planet because you were all born on Earth. What you're asking is, do they have energetic connections to other civilizations that simultaneously coexist with them in the present on another frequency? Which is actually the same question you're asking about past lives, because the past is an illusion. You make connections to other simultaneous existences going on right now, right along with yours, with other people in what you call different time frames, but you bring information and energy along those connective energetic lines, and because of your linear perspective, you perceive it as coming from the past, or coming from the future, or coming from another planet, as if it's not all existing right now, but it is. So the idea of reincarnation is real as an experience, but it's not an accurate description of what's mechanically happening, because all lives exist simultaneously. Does that make sense?
Sure. Anyone else? Anyone else have a question? Thank you.
Did that answer your question?
It's an interesting perspective.
All right. And what do you want to do with that?
I guess I don't, when I receive information, I don't immediately try to definitively understand. I just...
You're absorbing it.
Yeah, let it work at itself out.
All right.
Find
Fair
the coherence.
enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
And to you, good day.
I would like to learn to channel, and I'm wondering what...
You all channel already. Remember that anytime you do what you love to do, you're in a channeling state. You're in the gamma brainwave state, which is the channeling state. And in fact, because your personalities are only part of you, as the greater beings that you are, you're channeling your personality into being right now. So you all do it. It's a natural altered state. What you're asking is, what do you want to do with the channeling state? How do you wish to express it in a way that's exciting for you? You don't have to learn to channel.
I'd like to learn to express it in a way that I could help other people.
And that can be many ways. It can be what you're seeing here as so-called vocal channeling. It can be automatic writing. It can be card reading. It can be many different kinds of expressions. Is there something more than another that is more exciting for you?
Kind of like this forum, the question asking.
All right. Then I ask you this question. Are you doing it with groups of people asking questions? Is that a no?
No.
No, it's not a no, or yes, it's a no?
I'm not really doing it, no.
Well, how are you going to practice if you're not actually doing it? How are you going to improve if you're not actually beginning? You see, the secret is, it's like electricity. The idea is that if you're just receiving downloads for yourself, you don't necessarily have to get into much of a different altered state outwardly. But if you are being asked a question by someone else, then the information can come through you. You can get out of the way and just let it go through you to them as if they are grounding the circuit, pulling the information through you.
Yes.
Therefore, you don't have to think about it. Whereas if it's just you, you don't have to necessarily go into the altered state that you're talking about. The altered state that you're seeing right now only exists because it needs to be translated for you. But if the channel is just receiving information directly from us, he just receives it directly from us telepathically.
So,
And you don't need to have a translation.
so how do I get in the state to do that?
I just told you. Sit down, allow yourself to be surrounded by friends or family who are willing to ask questions, and see what happens. You'll find your way. You'll feel your way through it. That's part of the process. If that's what's exciting for you, you will attract the information, the opportunities that you need. But that's a good way to start, because then you will understand how it feels.
Okay.
But you also, in that moment, have to let go of all of your conditions. It has to be all right for you to not get anything. It has to be all right for you to be incorrect. It has to be all right for you to look ridiculous. Do you understand and see where we're going here? You have to let go of any negative ego you have surrounding this idea.
Okay.
Of how you think you should perform, how you think you should look, why you think you're doing it. Just do it because you're being of service. Do it because it excites you for its own sake, without putting any conditions on how it should look, how it should express itself. And when you do that, you'll find your way. It will start to express itself in the way that works best for you, and the way that works best for those that you attract to you.
Okay.
And you don't have to be the end-all, be-all. If someone needs something else, they'll find someone else to give it to them. You don't have to be the one.
Okay.
Yes? Is
Yes.
this helping?
This is helping. Yes.
All it takes is relaxing into it and doing it because it's fun, doing it because it excites you for its own sake, not because of what you think it will get you, not because of the way you think it should look. Just do it because it excites you, and let it show you how it needs to express itself. Just go along for the ride. Ride the wave. See what happens. And remember that it's for you too. It will give you the opportunity to work on things within yourself and let go of things that are negative that you're maybe holding on to, or let go of things that are no longer relevant for you. So it works in both directions.
Okay.
Does this help?
Yes. Yes.
When will you begin?
Now.
Thank you.
Thank
Does
you.
that help you?
Yes.
Anything else?
Yes, I did have another question.
All right.
As it's now election time,
Yes.
if you have an update, I thought this might come up today.
It is now way too close to the nexus point to give you any kind of percentages. Everything is now absolutely in flux. I will tell you this. If you do not get involved and actually make a choice, you deserve what you get.
Can you expand on that?
Do you follow?
No. Can you expand more on that? What do you mean by involved?
Are you able to vote?
Yes.
Then if you don't, you deserve what you get. So be active, interactive, proactive. Do you understand? It makes all the difference now in the nexus point. The reason that the so-called percentages appear so close to you is because it's really giving you an opportunity, all of you, to step up and actually cast a vote for the reality that you prefer, and also the one that you don't. But the percentages now are too close, too in flux. You're too close to the nexus point now for us to give you any kind of indication or percentages at this time. The rest is now up to all of you.
Okay. And I'm not asking what the outcome's going to be specifically. I guess
Yes,
what
you're
I'm
asking vaguely.
is like what's happening in terms of momentum of things changing. Where
Well,
you've talked
obviously,
about,
this is part and parcel of when we said that everything in the fall of 2016 will change.
Yes.
Certainly, this is a big one. No matter which way things go, it's going to be a huge change in some way, shape, or form. Is it not?
Yeah, and can you say what kinds of things are changing?
There are many things changing about your financial, your political, your social situations on your planet. Look at all the things that are going on around you right now. There are many things happening. Just pay attention.
Okay.
That's all.
And to be part of that in a positive way.
Yes.
You're saying to vote.
Vote in a positive way.
Okay. And
You
that
have
can
the opportunity to become engaged, and this is, in a sense, what this is really all about. You're putting everything out on the table so that you can really see much more clearly, by the degree of polarization going on, what you prefer, because you're being given an example more clearly of what you don't prefer. So make a response.
So would not physically voting be a response?
Of course
a
it is.
vibrational response.
Of
Okay.
course it is,
Just getting
but
clarity
not
on that.
necessarily in the direction that you might prefer. Because you are, in a sense, giving up your self-empowerment to be part of the experience, instead of just sitting and watching it happen. Now, you can do that, and if you say that that's a choice, then that's your choice. But as I said, and this is not something you have to necessarily take in a negative way, you deserve what you get.
So how could we contribute in the most positive way?
Stay in a positive state of being when you take whatever action you have decided to take.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. There are many paths and many avenues, and no matter what outcome you experience in any of this, there is always a path that will get you where you really need to be. Be creative about it. And remember, please remember, you are your government. So, make your choices.
Hi, Bashar.
And a you good day.
It's not so much that I have a specific question. It's
This is a day for vague questions.
yes,
All right.
it is. I'm feeling pretty vague, but it's
all right.
I think it'll clear up pretty quick here.
Yes.
I do a lot of healing work.
Oh, all right.
I'm a teacher of sorts, yoga,
Of
and
sorts?
qigong, and
Yes. What do you mean of sorts?
I suppose
You're a teacher?
yes.
Not of sorts. Unless you teach people about sorts. Then you would be a teacher of sorts.
Yes,
Here's how to sort things.
I've done that.
Oh,
yes.
all right.
All right. So, anyways,
Yes.
I use crystals and stones for
Yes.
healing as well.
So these are your permission slips.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Do you? So I guess when I say I don't have a specific question, it's more so I'm looking for what your opinion as Bashar would be for me
About
as
what?
advice or guidance in how to use crystals and stones for healing in what?
Whatever way your imagination is most excited to use them.
Okay.
Sort of.
I like that.
You understand the concept of permission slips, yes? Or would you need a definition from us?
Can you define that, please?
All tools, all techniques, all rituals, all objects are permission slips that you are attracted to use because they align with your belief that you need that in order to give yourself permission to be more of who you prefer to be. But you're the one giving yourself permission. It's just that your belief says, this thing will make it easier. Therefore, you're willing to change your belief because you're putting your belief in that reflection, in that permission slip. But you are the ultimate permission slip anyway. But if you're attracted to use a permission slip, by all means use it, because it's in alignment with your belief system in a way that will actually allow you to unlock your belief system in the easiest way you believe you can.
Okay.
That's why they work. Yes?
Yes. Yeah.
Did that help?
Absolutely.
All right.
Confirms what I'm already feeling as well.
Well, there you go. Yes?
My next.
Your next vague question is?
Yeah. I'm working with a lot of specifically women that have a lot of trauma from their lives and from the
Oh, all
past and
right.
from
How
childhood.
exciting for you.
It absolutely is exciting, and sometimes it feels like it's too much. Sometimes I'm taking too much on. Sometimes I'm too much processing it too much.
I have a very big secret then to tell you.
That's why I'm here.
About exactly what to do. Take a break. You can, you know.
I do.
Well,
I do take breaks.
then also understand. Watch your definitions and watch your belief systems about what it is you're doing, because you don't have to match those frequencies in order to be of assistance.
Sure.
You don't have to take that energy into your own energy. You don't have to be the vibration of something you don't prefer to be. And in fact, if you do that, while on one hand it may seem that you are being sympathetic, which may be one of the reasons why you unconsciously do it, but the idea is to be empathic and compassionate and give them the vibration they need to match in order to raise their frequency to pull themselves out of trauma and heal themselves, rather than you matching their frequency of trauma just because you think that in order to be somewhat identifiable to them that you have to be sympathetic in that way, which you don't.
Right.
Does that help?
I fully understand.
All
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
And also take a break
Thank
if
you.
you need one.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much, Bashar.
That's not all.
Okay.
Please also understand, and this is very important for a lot of people who do what you do, there's no rush. There's no hurry. Do it in the way that works best for you. You're entitled to. You're entitled to. If you're not doing it in the way that works best for you, how can you be of any help to anyone else? Because you're not being you.
That's right.
Make sense?
Yes.
So, lighten up on yourself, and you will feel more enlightened. Yes?
Yes.
Does that help you?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, Bashar.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Many people on your planet, because of your belief systems, make things far more difficult and complicated than they really need to be. Everything is actually fundamentally based on very simple principles. Keep it simple, and it will work much more efficiently for you, rather than loading it down with all sorts of conditions and beliefs about the way things are supposed to happen, and therefore you have to slog through all sorts of details to make anything work. And it's no wonder that by the end of the day you're exhausted. Instead of riding the wave of energy and allowing it to uplift you and being left with energy. Yes? Yes.
Hello, Tadeo.
Nania?
We have a couple of questions from our Ustream listeners
all right.
about self-worth. So we
Yes.
thought this would be a good time to introduce some of these questions.
All right.
How can someone value themselves when they've been devalued their entire lives until it's really deeply believed?
The way the question is being asked is perpetuating the sense and experience of devaluation. Because the question was asked, how can someone value themselves when they have been devalued as if they've been devalued by someone else, when in fact the person has devalued themselves their whole lives? So if they recognize that all they did was buy into someone else's idea about the lack of value, but the only way they would experience the devaluation was to do it to themselves, to create that energy within themselves, then they have the answer and the exit door to their experience. Because if they realize, truly realize, that they have been simply agreeing to devalue themselves, then they are empowered to do the opposite just as easily. But it takes the true recognition, an absolutely clear recognition that no one else's attempt to devalue them has any effect at all unless you believe that it does. And if you believe that it does, then you are devaluing yourself. So all you need to do to value yourself is value yourself in exactly the same way that you've been devaluing yourself your whole life. Because you've been doing it. So do something else. It's that recognition that is the key to freedom.
So when a child is raised where they're constantly told that they don't have value, and maybe
Yes.
they're even abused along with that,
Yes.
and they come out of their childhood having great difficulty in just feeling comfortable in the world,
Yes.
these are the kinds of things that people go into therapy for.
We understand. And therapy is for the purpose of getting them to understand they don't have to buy into the idea that they've been given as if it is a fact.
Right.
They are then allowed to understand it is nothing but that person's belief. It is nothing but that person's issue that has been then given to them as an opportunity to buy into it or not. And once again, they understand that whatever another person thinks has absolutely no effect, literally no effect on anyone. They will start to understand they've been doing it to themselves. And then that's the key that allows them to stop doing that.
It seems like there's a two-stage process. Like one part of the process is recognizing that you actually were devalued or that you were treated wrongly in childhood, because this way you can start to recognize that it happened to you and that
we understand. We're
that's
not
like-
saying that you can't recognize
No,
that someone else is not behaving with integrity.
Right,
But that's not the issue.
well, I'm talking about once people become adults
Yes.
and then they're attempting to transform their
Yes.
level of self-worth.
Yes.
Part of the recognition is recognizing that it happened. That
Of course, you have
empowers
to
you right away.
acknowledge that, but you also have to acknowledge, when you understand it, that you have been doing it to yourself.
Right, because you're taking it a step further in helping us
Absolutely.
understand that all along the only reason that would affect you like that is because you bought into what you were saying.
Yes. Taking the further step is the exit route.
Right. And so when children are experiencing that and they're dependent on their parents
Yes.
for their survival,
Yes.
they are designed to accept it, aren't they?
In a sense, although not every child does. But yes, we understand that because of the legacy of belief systems that you're taught over generations, most children are taught to accept those things because they are taught to believe that if they don't, they may not survive. They will not get the support that they need from their parents or whoever is feeding them those ideas. And again, please remember that many of these things have come from experiences within the parents about their own self-devaluation. Therefore, they're simply passing it along like genetics.
So on a soul level, when you make the decision to incarnate into a dysfunctional family situation,
Yes.
where these kinds of things go on,
Yes.
why would the soul choose that?
Why not? It's a very powerful way to transform limitation into freedom, darkness into light, negative into positive.
So some of the positive things that are come out of that basically can be increased compassion for others.
Yes.
And I guess my understanding is most families are dysfunctional on the planet to some degree.
Many.
So the ability to choose a family
Yes.
where you would get better treatment, let's say,
Yes.
is that it's not really part of the design. In
Everyone
these
has a
circum-
different theme.
Right. So that situation can be used to help perpetuate the theme that you're exploring, which
Of course.
would be moving from feeling like you don't have self-worth into feeling that you do,
Yes.
and knowing that you have value.
Yes.
So I think that a lot of times people who are survivors, in a sense,
Yes.
they carry a lot of guilt and they feel like at some level they deserved what happened to them. And then they also are concerned that why at another level would I ever choose this for myself?
We understand, but all of those questions and all of those assumptions come from not understanding how it really works. And when they do, they can be free.
So the whole thing happens in order for them to become able to choose how they believe about themselves rather than relying on external circumstances
Yes.
to determine your value.
Imagine, once a person wraps their mind around the understanding that they never had to buy into that as a fact, that they have been doing it to themselves all their lives. Once a person understands that and breaks free from that, imagine how powerful and indestructible they are from that point forward.
Because when you're devaluing your...
Did you hear what we said?
Yes.
Did you hear what we said?
Right, I am, because I'm also translating it into the idea that the disempowered state,
Which is not an actual state of disempowerment.
right,
It is using your power to create the illusion of disempowerment.
like you can tell if you're disempowering yourself when you feel bad, when you don't have energy, where you
Yes.
you don't want to do certain things, you just don't feel good about yourself.
Yes.
These are states of choosing disempowerment.
Yes, but again, the recognition that you're using your power to create an experience of disempowerment is the key that frees you from doing it that way.
Right. I mean, I think that that's what you're presenting to all of us,
Yes.
is basically that,
It's the
We-
power of paradox.
right, the idea that you're never possessed, that
No.
nothing ever happens to you without your agreement on some
It
level.
happens through you.
And regardless of what it looks like is happening to you,
Yes.
choosing to devalue yourself because you judge what is happening to you,
Yes.
then perpetuates the state of disempowerment.
Of course.
So the idea is that once you understand what it feels like to feel empowered, which isn't insisting on dominating other people
No.
or anything
That's not
like that.
empowerment.
Empowered, can you go a little bit into what does the empowered state feel like so that we can all recognize that when we're in that state?
It goes into the idea of your indestructible core, knowing that you exist and that your existence is absolutely valid. It is a sense of absolute validation, a sense of pure being, that nothing can be experienced by you that you don't agree to experience.
And that state of being, which most people at some point in their life experience, even if it's just momentarily, can be recreated just by remembering the circumstance when you felt empowered.
Because in order to remember the circumstance where you felt empowered, you actually have to be in a state of empowerment. Remember, you can't experience what you're not the vibration of first. So the trick, we often say, well, if you want to get back into the same state, even if it doesn't feel the same, just remember what it felt like when you were in that state and you'll be back in that state, is actually a trick, because in order to actually be able to remember being in the state, you have to be in the state. That's the trick.
So once you recognize that state, the idea is then to recognize when you're not in that state and to take actions within yourself
Yes.
in order to recreate the positive
If
state.
that's what you prefer, of course.
Well, most people prefer to feel good. Yes?
No. That's the dilemma that you've created for yourselves, is you have belief systems attached to your motivational mechanisms that make many people on your planet actually prefer not to feel good, because they think that feeling good is attached to some negative idea that's worse. That's the point.
So in fact, some people will choose not to feel good because their parents told them they weren't allowed to, in a sense, or taught them that they weren't allowed to. And then they feel like they're betraying their parent
Yes.
by feeling good. It
Exactly.
can be at that deep a level.
Therefore, they have attached the idea of a belief to feeling good that countermands their desire to feel good, because they don't necessarily want to betray their parents or dishonor their parents, and that somehow has been ingrained in them as being more important than being themselves, which would actually be the true honoring of the parents, whether the parents understand that or not.
So we have an interesting challenge here on Earth.
Yes, you do.
Because most people are raised to devalue themselves in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Because of beliefs that are passed
Well,
on
that's
from the
why it's a master graduating class. Nobody said it would be simple and easy in terms of the experience, but what you're learning is that the answer is simple and easy.
And so for us to have contact and not go into psychic shock, basically, the self-worth issue is really at the core of the ability to be able to have contact.
It is crucial because contact with us and beings like us is inviting you into an altered state of consciousness. And if your consciousness doesn't know what to do with that altered state, you're not necessarily going to have a lot of fun in that contact because it's going to bring things up within you that haven't been integrated.
And that's the compartmentalization that you're talking about, that the issues around self-worth are often compartmentalized in your belief system.
Yes.
And accessing those compartments, in a sense.
Yes.
The best way to do that is to
act on your highest passion to the best that you are able with absolutely no insistence on what the outcome should be. That's the formula that unlocks the complete kit and all the tools you need. And then whatever happens from whatever the actions are that you take, whatever the result may be, always identify it as something that will be positive and beneficial as an effect in your life. Even if what manifests is something you don't prefer, the reason that it's there must be serving you in a beneficial way. And that's all you need to do.
And the reason that's so powerful is because the way the universe works is it's designed to help you recognize your value.
The way existence works. Not just your universe.
So in that design of you being able to recognize your worth, everything that you encounter is an opportunity to recognize when you're devaluing yourself and when you're not, when you're supporting yourself, when you're not, when you're abandoning yourself and when you're not.
Yes.
And since it's built into the fabric, if you trust the unfoldment of your life, then you will know that unfoldment is designed to show you your value.
You have the ultimate feedback system. That's why we say physical reality is a reflection. You are always given the feedback of what you put out. So you can always self-correct. It's a self-perpetuating, self-guiding system. Use it. When something doesn't feel right, when you're buying into negative beliefs, you're always going to get the feedback of feeling something out of whack, as you say, thinking something out of whack, behaving in some way that's out of alignment. You always have those opportunities and feedback systems to tell you there is something out of alignment in what you believe to be true about yourself. Find out what it is and let it go, and the feedback system will show that you have course corrected.
And in the area of like survival of the fittest, I mean,
depends on how you define what means by fittest.
Right. As a competitive species, let's say that that's built into our biology.
To some degree.
To compete, and in nature, it's always reflected to us that competing, the top dog, whatever you want to call it, that's important for survival. So as part of our transcendence of this idea of, let's say a person doesn't feel physically capable of competing, or they don't feel that they're as good as other people.
Everyone has something to give. The competition is not against anyone but yourself. And remember that you have no business and actually no ability comparing yourself to anyone else because you're all unique. You all are parts of the whole puzzle picture. Just be the shape you were created to be, and you will fit with all the other puzzle pieces also being the shape that they were created to be. And everyone has a piece of the puzzle, and together makes up the whole picture that then supports all the pieces. Just be who you are. And you have, in that action alone, surmounted anything that has to do with competition and survival. You have given yourself the idea of surviving as who you truly are, because who you truly are is the fittest thing for you to survive as. Nothing else will actually allow you to survive. Being someone you're not is what kills you. That's not survival. Being who you are is the fittest thing you can be.
Essentially, you're saying that to unconditionally love and accept the unique piece of the puzzle that you express,
Or the puddle.
regardless of how that looks to other people or how that looks to you.
Yes, as long as you are also honest in your own self-reflection, that you are not out of alignment or out of integrity in what it is you are expressing.
So
You have to have the honest self-discernment to know that you're not just, as you would say, just acting willy-nilly because you think it's okay to do anything you want. That's not the issue we're talking about here. We're talking about being the true self and having the honest discernment to be able to tell the difference between your true excited self and one that might be a version of you that is simply filled with anxiety that is being disguised as excitement.
Right, or rebellion or anger that's
Yes.
being expressed in some other
Yes.
way.
But you see, the idea again is to understand paradox and the power that exists within it. Because when you talk about things like rebellion, people who rebel are the ones who are most controlled by the ones they're rebelling against. Because if you don't believe that in any way, shape, or form they have any power over you, what have you got to rebel against? Rebellion is a sign that you believe you're controlled.
So it still comes down ultimately to unconditionally accepting
Yes, your true
your
self
true self.
and being that, and then walking that path.
And then people can get into judging themselves because they're not their true selves and they're still expressing themselves
They can,
with other issues.
but
and
if they're
things like
being their
that.
true self, then they won't.
Right. So then you have to give positive meaning to the difference between what your true self is and what your self is in the current state.
Yes.
Don't heap more negativity onto the idea that you're not who you'd like to be.
Unless
let's
you
say.
simply want to spiral down in misery. If that's your choice, then by all means, heap away. But that's going to be the result.
It's just so interesting how we can trick ourselves into getting into negative states.
Welcome to
because-
physical reality.
Right. And also because if there are self-worth issues, which is pretty much true for most people on the planet, you're going to have the temptation of falling into negative beliefs about yourself in order to seemingly help yourself.
Yes.
But that's actually
But
not
don't
the way to
give
do
in to temptation. It's not who you are. Remember, negative beliefs are filling your ears with lies about yourself. They have to. They have to convince you that the lie is true. They have to work very hard at it because it's not the truth. The positive beliefs don't have to work hard at all because what they're telling you about yourself is true. The negative beliefs have to work very hard and use all sorts of tools and tactics and smoke and mirrors and lies to get you to buy into the fact that you're unworthy because it's not true. That should be your first clue. When you feel the most fear, that's when you know the negative beliefs are working very hard to convince you that you are not worthy. But you have to see through that fear as a trick of the negative belief. It's just an illusion because it has to work that much harder to convince you that you're not worthy because it's not a fact.
That's that list you went through in the black box.
Yes.
About all the different ways negative belief systems seek to keep
Well,
you
it wasn't
in that-
all the ways, but it was a lot of them.
and the way that these kinds of knots, mental knots that
Yes.
we get into as humans at this stage. And that's what we always have to remember, isn't it? That it's at
Yes.
this stage.
At this stage.
And it will naturally progress towards greater and greater
Just
levels.
do your best. That's all you need to do. Just always check in honestly with self-discernment to make sure, are you doing the best you can? If not, do your best. If you are, relax. And keep doing it. What is your time?
I think it's probably time.
Then all of you enjoy your nourishment break. We will resume this transmission afterwards. Thank you. How's it going?
Great, great.